and then face the.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. I think it started. Ooh. But it's not coming up with the picture. Maybe it will.
Oh,
Here's
Tina,
Jen.
see on the bottom where it says video? Are you on start video or stop video?
Start video. I'm gonna start it. Bye, John. Thank you.
But you have no video?
I'm gonna start it. I
Yeah.
haven't started. There we go. Bye.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm gonna mute myself because my child is loud.
But why isn't our picture big and you're bigger?
Are you on full screen? Top right, hit view.
Okay.
I have mine on speaker, so you're big to me and I'm little. So if you do full screen,
Okay, full screen. You're full screen.
that's okay. I'm gonna turn my video off anyway, so.
All right. And I don't mute it, right?
No, you don't mute. I'm muting, so I have no background noise.
Okay. So I think it started to record. Yeah, it's recording.
That's fine. No big deal. I mean, you can
Okay.
start and stop again if you want, if we don't want this conversation on.
Okay. Well, we're,
That's fine. We-
yeah, I know. I'm trying to get this to full view.
Go with you, Tom, so whenever you tell us, you'll be okay. Yeah, no funny stuff.
Put it on speaker, because if I'm muted and you guys are making noise, you guys should be the bigger picture.
It is on speak. It's unmuted. It's videoing. It's on video and it's on recording. I
And
put full screen, but
under view, it's on speaker.
under where?
Under view, it's on speaker, top right. I mean, you could try gallery and then it'll show both of
Yeah,
us.
speaker view or gallery view.
You can do gallery view, that'll show both of us.
Gallery. Okay, that's better. Can you see everybody?
Almost.
I can't get it.
No, that's fine. Park and Rec is the same way. We can never see everybody.
I can't get it.
It's all right, we're here, you'll certainly hear us.
It's fine. You're on and you're recording, that's all that matters.
Recording, so you could start your meeting.
Okay. I'm gonna call to order. 7:03. Roll call, Frank,
Yep, here.
Lois? Here. Ann? Here. Kay? Yep. Me. And then Tina. Staff, Tina.
Yes.
No,
I am, yeah.
Victoria, no, not Victoria, 'cause she's
No,
not here. But Jen is Zoom, so that I should check her up, and Julia. Okay. All right, the approval or corrections of the minutes of March 21st, 2022. Is there any changes, additions, or corrections?
No, I don't think there is. I'll make a motion to accept them.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have no audience of citizens tonight.
That's too bad.
I know, I like to have an audience of citizens. Okay, Tina's
I'm back.
report is next. Okay, Tina, director's report.
Okay, just want to remind you all that on Thursday, May 26th, is our Commission for Aging Spring Social at 3:30 to 5:30. We'll be having pizza, salad, and dessert. We have entertainment. We have Noah Liss who was a contestant on The Voice. And he lives in Connecticut. So we will be yes, he is a singer. Noah Liss, L-I-S. He was a finalist on The Voice. He's been touring the senior centers. So we booked him to perform. He's someone different. Also, we still have a number of programs scheduled for this month. We've been getting a good turnout. People are coming even though the COVID numbers are up. And as we tell people, because we do get calls regarding whether we're going to be canceling programs or not because the numbers are up, we leave it up to the discretion of the person, whether they come or not, or we also advise them they can always wear a mask. Our lunch program is back in full swing. That's starting to gain momentum. It was a few when we first started, but I'm seeing more and more each day. Next week, we also have our setback banquet, which will be the end of our setback tournament. So there will be no congregate meal that day because the setback group uses the whole big room and they use the kitchen. We got some different programs this month too, as part of Older America's Month, which is every May. And this year, the theme is Age My Way. And we are bringing line dancing back to the senior center with Joel Silvestro. If you all remember, Joel owned Joel's hair styling salon. We tried it out. We did like a presentation. We had a good group of people. And so we're going to bring back line dancing to the centers, I believe Friday afternoons. So Joel will be teaching that. Our membership is increasing. We're getting new members. We're getting new members out of town, new members in town. Our walking club started up again once the weather got nice. That's every Thursday morning. Cheryl, who used to work here, has retired, is the volunteer that does the walking club. And our group tends to like Walnut Hill. They've been doing pretty much Walnut Hill. But we have done Hungerford's, Veterans Park, and Pistol Creek. So that's another program that is popular and growing. But I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions regarding anything that's happening at the center?
I just have one, and I know I spoke to you about this before, the lunch program.
Yes.
Have you had any feedback on people saying it's to sign up a week in advance? It's like.
No, I haven't heard from anyone.
Oh, so I'm the only one. Okay.
But I mean, if you have a concern, let me know and then I'll express it to, it's not my rule, it's CW's.
Yeah, and the reason I'm expressing this is because when I went to sign up and I said to her, to sign up a whole week in advance seems like a long time. You don't know what you're doing then. She says, well, you just sign up for the week and then if you don't show up, you don't show up. And I said, well, that's not very good for the lunch program. And then that particular day, I heard there were people that did not come. So I can understand if you sign up a week in advance and then something happens and you forget to call in to say, I'm not going to be there, then they're going to be returning meals. And my concern is that I don't want them to cancel the program,
Okay.
So that.
Well, it has been brought up by I was contacted by Plainville regarding that, but we hadn't started yet. So we've only been, what did we start, April 18th? So this is like our maybe third week. So I will address it with CW. It's their rule. I don't know why they changed it. I know Emily is new. Um,
And I did discuss it with her.
yeah, I know Emily is new and they haven't fully trained her as well. I have showed her some things that they hadn't showed her regarding serve safe things, how to handle food or whatever properly. So I know that's coming down the road too, that she still has to go through some training.
Training.
Yeah. But she's a very nice young lady.
Oh, she's very nice.
Yeah, and
I'm not
she's,
saying anything.
yeah, no, I'm just telling you that I think she, because she hasn't had the full training that they should have given her, she's a little anxious on things because she doesn't know until somebody tells her, so I've been trying to, give her more information about, this is how we've done it, this is what's been successful. I did question her about like the sign up. I said, because it seemed like a few times that people said they signed up and then she didn't have them. So I said, are we having an issue with that? Because if we are, we need to look at it and we need to find a better way to make sure that, one, people are being put down if they're telling you or whatever, or the other way is if people are signing up but not showing up, then they need to know, as a courtesy, you need to call and cancel your meal. Because when you do that, if somebody else comes up that day and says, oh, do you have an extra meal? Then at least somebody else can have that meal that nobody's using and it's not being thrown out.
Exactly, and they're not sending it back, saying,
Right.
oh, we don't have enough people, we're not.
Right. And I also noticed that CW has been making mistakes themselves on sending the necessary stuff. So like one day there was supposed to be soup on the menu for that day. They didn't send any soup. Another day they didn't send enough milks. So I think they've been off for so long that they're not used to the flow, and and I think also they have all new people.
And that's where the experience.
Yeah,
comes in.
right, right.
Like we had that woman there for a couple
Right,
years.
yeah,
and
yeah.
she knew what was going on.
But I will address that with Sally and Rose from,
'Cause she
they're
would
the
even
bosses.
Come into me, like if I was in the knit group, and she would say, somebody's not showing up today, I have an extra meal. I don't want to send it back. Do you want to stay for lunch?
Yeah,
And I would say, okay, because, I didn't
Right.
want her to have to send.
well,
it
yeah,
back.
because back then, if you didn't show up, after so many, they took you off the list. Because there was frequent flyers that would sign up but then not show up. And then they're wasting that food,
That's right.
which the funds are coming from a federal grant
Yes.
for nutrition.
And that's what I.
And they don't wanna
my
waste
concern
it,
was.
right.
You don't want, if they get audited and they say, oh, how come all these people just didn't show up? What did you do with all this food?
Right.
You know?
But
So-
people need to let me know if there's
Absolutely.
issues about, I signed up, but they said there was no meal there.
Yeah.
Because then I don't know about it.
Yeah.
Then I can't address it and say, hey, are we having an issue with sign up? Maybe we need to do sign up a different way. Maybe we need to do like we used to do. Remember, Lois, where the sheets were out for each day?
Yeah.
They used to be on the counter. And then that way it keeps people accountable too, because if you signed up, your name is gonna be
That's
there.
right.
If you didn't sign up, then your name's not there.
They don't bring in every day. They bring in Monday and Tuesdays. It's 2 days meal in here.
Oh, they're not bringing it, each
It's
day.
not- They don't bring Monday, it's meal Monday. They bring Monday and Tuesday.
So if I went in the fridge, you're saying that Tuesday's meal is there?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to look. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
I noticed, I noticed the milk, the apples, the stuff like that. I didn't notice that the food was there.
Yeah.
Are you sure that,
Ask him, yeah, she told me.
I'll have to look.
We could look.
I can look.
We could look.
Well, because, and I feel bad for her because she hasn't been fully trained and like we get inspected because we're a licensed,
But you're getting much better.
yeah, we're a licensed food establishment.
She's a
And you
very
have,
nice
you
young
have to
lady.
follow the guidelines,
Yeah,
but you can't follow them if you don't know them,
exactly, exactly.
you know? So I'm trying to
So far,
instill in her, okay, this is like when you do dishes, we have 3-bay sink. That's a purpose for that. Then we have a sanitizer. You have to do like this and then put in the sanitizer, you know? Or if you have whipped cream open, you gotta cover it with foil or plastic wrap or whatever. You can't just leave it open with the spout open. You know, water, you can't leave it in pitchers. You gotta have a lid on it. You know, so those kind of things,
Things that she will learn.
right, once she is properly trained.
Yes.
Right,
And you can't blame her if she's not properly trained.
Right.
You know?
you know, and I don't have the authority over her. I only have the authority over the site and the license. So then I can impart on her, well, this is our food license. You gotta follow, because otherwise we get marked down, we get shut down.
Yeah.
And we don't wanna do that.
No.
And she doesn't want that either. But I will address about the sign up a week in advance, and why they're doing it that way.
Yeah, and if people aren't coming, you know, or showing up, after they sign up a week in advance.
Yeah, if they're doing the old policy of canceling them, I will find out.
People get charged for that. I mean, I remember when I was active in the fire department, we had signed up for an event that didn't show up, we got billed. The person got
Oh.
actually charged
See that?
for that.
See, they can't because, Frank, because this is a Title III nutrition program, so it's suggested donations.
Oh, okay.
So no,
there's
if
politics
somebody,
involved.
right, well, if somebody can't afford a meal but wants a meal, they can sign up, but they don't have to pay for it. And it's supposed to be like a private thing. That's why they leave the box for the money. It's supposed to be left on the counter, and then people at their discretion put in their money. It's supposed to be so like, yeah, so if I can't afford a meal, but I need a meal, and I come in, it shouldn't be your business whether I'm paying or not.
Yeah, right.
It's supposed to be confidential.
All right, okay. Sure.
Yeah, so that way they can't do that.
They can't charge.
No,
I was
they, yeah, they can't do it that way, yeah. Because the purpose is to get hot meals or nutritional meals
Right.
to seniors, and those that can't afford it.
There is an issue with the food though, if somebody doesn't show up.
Well, there used to be is if you signed up and you didn't show up and you didn't call to cancel,
Right.
after so many, they would just take you off the list
So then
for a week or so.
then
You would be able to be able to eat, right,
Yeah, that sounds
right,
reasonable.
right, yeah, yeah, so, I don't know if
They
they're,
have to have some quality control.
yeah, no, right. I don't know if they're doing that still. They haven't said, so,
Well, maybe once she gets more organized,
Right,
maybe that will
yeah.
come back.
she's still
Yeah.
learning. Any other questions regarding anything? Okay. All right,
Okay, thank you. Tina.
you're welcome.
Senior housing report, Ann? Senior housing report?
Oh,
You have a report?
you have me, huh? Okay. I guess there's a meeting tomorrow night.
Yes, I'm going.
Yeah,
There is?
yeah, that's, what is it? It's an informational meeting for
Yes.
people to hear about the
Yes.
housing.
And Joe will be there
Plan.
reporting.
And it is in the computer for anybody that wants to look. You just go into town.gov and look on the site and you can find the report that's finished. I think
Where is it at?
the one they're
Town
accepting.
council meeting.
It's under, well, the report is under housing priority.
Oh, she's asking,
You want to
yeah.
look at the whole-
No, I want to know where the meeting is and what
Oh,
time.
It is.
Tina, it's part of the council meeting.
Okay, got you. Thank you, Jen.
What time?
It's part of the town council meeting.
Oh, okay.
And I was fairly pleased with what we managed to get through. I think this change is coming that the plan is not going to be able to address. At least not at this point. unless they want to change a lot of things, because I think what's happening is we're going to get a lot of buildings that are built that they will say qualify for affordable housing, but there's only so many apartments in each one that is actually qualified for affordable. And then the rest are in scale. And that one that's going in on Farmington Avenue, that is full price. All the apartments upstairs there are going to be full price.
Yeah, that's all fair market value.
And I have no idea what they're going to be, but I think you're going to see them very expensive.
Where is that? I'm sorry,
What is it?
I missed the location.
That new building on, the big one. is-
Oh, on Farmington Ave.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're going to have stores downstairs in the apartments.
Okay, yeah.
They're all going to be full price.
I'm sure they'll probably be about $1,400 a month, because they're all gonna be fair market value.
That's about the average.
I believe Metro Realty is building another complex over by Northeast Utilities, by
Yeah,
by
there's
Eversource,
places, yeah.
across the road there.
That one's supposed to have something like 364, and that is supposed to be a mix, so it should have some of the affordable. The problem is, I think, that the way the rents are going, you're gonna see the seniors don't want to move even when they need to. You know, I think you're gonna find that they're not gonna wanna move out of their house because they can't see paying that kind of rent with their social security.
Yes, and unless they get subsidized.
Yeah, if you're not getting
Yeah.
subsidized, and even if you are getting subsidized, even the subsidized rents come with a lot, depending on how old you are at this point. If you have someone who's my age, our social security is better. If you have somebody that's 98, like my mother-in-law, she wasn't even getting $1,000, it was barely over $1,000 every month. You know, how do you do that kind of rent on that? Even my rent would have been a stretch for her. Still would have left her.
That's why people want to get into the, like Berlin Housing Authority rents, because they're more reasonable than the private rents. And the private rents go up every year.
Yeah, it depends, yeah, and some like, I mean, Hugh has a very low income, like, he's one of the ones that has a low income. And he's sort of grandfathered, they got him at a rent, told him, you don't have to worry about going up anymore, because he doesn't have
Well, because they get subsidized
increasing.
through the
income.
state and federal for
Yeah.
folks in the housing authority.
And mine goes up, even though.
Yeah.
it's, you know,
Yeah,
But whatever, the whole thing is your 30% goes up as long as you're,
right,
as long as the cost of it.
right, yeah,
As long as you're getting some things.
right. But when you live in like Metro Realty, there's not that control there.
Yeah,
They can raise it whatever they want.
yeah, well, that's the problem. You get to certain ones where they don't have it.
Yeah,
And it's gonna get raised.
and you will see people like at Metro Realty, Orchard Ridge or Stonebridge, where they have to move out because they can't afford.
Well,
Those
my
rents.
case at Sage Pond. And the rent kept going up and I was realizing I just wasn't gonna be able to afford it.
Yeah. And they can do
I
that
was
because
lucky
they're
that my
privately
name was
owned.
on the list. But see, that's the problem. With the list, if you don't have enough, we don't have enough apartments that are gonna be that subsidized rate or they're gonna
Right.
be subsidized.
Right,
They're just not, the apartment buildings are just not being built for them.
right,
The other biggest problem to me is the fact that the senior things that they're building are not like a senior community. Here, we have some services, a lot of the buildings they're building, you'll have some apartments for seniors, but the rest of the people living there are younger. It's a different atmosphere. They don't have things to help. Sage Pond was the only one that I know of that they already had somebody on site all day. That's very comforting for the seniors. Just trying to get a hold of her is like, you know. And they have someone who's trained to help the people that are living there. And it's more of a community feel, even though they have different rents there. They have more of a community feel. If the apartments are just built so that you have some apartments that are low rent, but there's no cohesion, there's no senior There's no way to bond, and you need that if you're a senior, because you want to be in a community with other seniors.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what, like with Sage Pond Park, when that first started, it was supposed to be 55 and older only. Then, then when they couldn't fill it, then they started making exceptions and taking folks that were not within their guidelines just to fill it.
Well, see, that was the problem,
Yeah,
and that's a problem for apartments, I realize that. But I think what you're seeing now is you're just gonna see the older people are gonna be sort of priced out of the market. And the apartments they can find may not be in a place where they
Yeah.
wanna really be.
and rents are going up for everybody.
Yeah.
And because I know my daughter rents, and her rent went up $100 a month.
Yeah, I don't see any point them going down.
Yeah.
Usually,
No, they're not gonna go down.
30,
No.
They're gonna go up.
100, a single.
Well, Stonebridge used to be like 25, $50.
It gives you gradually
They did it,
what
but
you-
they did it every year.
Yeah.
It was like 25.
At least we cover
Because I
it.
used to do the renter's rebate, and people would say that their rent went up or whatever. But I know that I have seen on the news and everything that some people's rent recently have really skyrocketed, which makes it hard for people to find affordable housing.
Well, that's like if you're paying $1,400 a month, it doesn't cost me $1,400 a month to run my house.
Well, that's why we're having seniors
Yes.
stay in their houses longer than they
Yeah,
have to.
Well, because you're paying for the 1,400 is paying for lawn care, plowing, it's paying for maintenance of your apartment, even though you might never use it, but that's what it's covering.
But that's a lot for a senior, I think.
Right, no, I'm saying, yes,
Well,
yeah.
and that's the thing with the subsidized, is you get those things. When I was at Sage Pond, my electric bill was anywhere between $170 and almost $200 a month, because they have forced air for both heat and cooling. I didn't have to pay for the heat, but you're still running the system that delivers it.
Right.
And I got a couple. I think I got my electric. No, I didn't get I got my heat and my hot water, and appliances. So I didn't have to pay that. But when you start looking at the bills a senior pays,
Hmm.
they can be really high.
Yeah.
And the other thing, the whole thing is too, we're looking at younger seniors now. You get somebody who's 65 and retiring now, they act like a 40-year-old. They're interested in the same things. So they want apartments that have all these upgrades. They want apartments with enough outlets. More counter space than 2.5 feet, stuff like that. So they're looking for the better apartments. But the prices on those, you're not gonna find that many that will have the 30%.
No,
Unless the building was built especially for that,
right,
specifically.
because it has to have
And
the
then when you.
federal funding.
Specifically for that, what's happening now is
Hmm.
they cannot be supported unless you're getting a lot of tax dollars from something.
Right.
Because the costs are just dead, that's the complaint. They say we're not paying enough to maintain them. And I'm sure they're probably right. And there's there's maintenance there that's being delayed because they probably just don't have DeMarco doesn't want to do it unless we'll pay for it. And I don't know what the conversations are between Chubb and DeMarco.
Well, Mary used to do a lot of the upgrades, I think, because she would get some type of grant funding. Like when she updated, I think she upgraded air conditionings, or she upgraded refrigerators or whatever. It was always because she had a grant of some kind that they
They
got.
have to work on that.
Yeah,
And I don't think that girl is gonna do that. I don't think she considers that part of her job.
that's training again.
Well, no, but I mean, she's hired by DeMarco, he should be saying. I don't, does he care? I have a feeling he doesn't. You know, she was a rental agent. That's what she did. That's what she did before she came to us. Absolutely no.
They have to care because they're federally funded and people are living there. They have to care. She has to, if you have a complaint. When I was here 2 months ago, somebody complained to me about bugs or something. So I called John Joyce and he had never heard of it.
Yes, I called the health district finally.
And he was gonna address it the next day, but he never heard of it.
I called the health district. I talked to her a couple times. I talked to Ray. I said, the problem is, I haven't seen any, I would give them this, I haven't seen any. Up until then, I was seeing them every time the boys come up to wash their clothes.
What they're talking about is they have a bed bug issue with two tenants. One lives up here, one lives down. And it's like they're-
But they said they feel that they're pretty much keeping them close to the room, although I think they told the boys they can start throwing.
They're using our washers.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll come over
They
and do
don't
the
have
washing.
They're not being killed in those hot water.
no.
They don't have washing
not-
facilities.
She said they are.
They don't
It's not
have
hot
I
washing.
feel that that's sufficient.
What?
That hot water will get rid of the bed bugs. And that the spraying this person is doing, that has now been going on for how many weeks? This has gotta be, I looked it up, I think it's like 6 weeks or 8 weeks that we've been dealing with it. And up until last week, I was still seeing them in the laundry room after they've been there.
And
I
what
called
does
that-
Joe
I
say?
called Somebody named Barbara at the health district. She never heard anything about it. And she said, oh, well, I'm gonna check into it. Do you think I'd even get a call back? I called DeMarco. Nobody called me from there. I was lucky I saw the girl in the, Liz, what's her name, Liz? Yeah. I saw her in the hall and we had a conversation and she goes, oh yeah, I used to know a place. I used to go to places that had been, we'll get rid of them.
Tina, after the last meeting when I told you
Right.
everything going on, you called me the next day and you said her supervisor was gonna be there.
Yeah,
Joe was gonna be there. None of them ever showed up. Liz,
oh, you never had your meeting?
we had a meeting, Liz, period.
Oh, Joe didn't come?
No, nobody came.
Or Matt?
No,
She bought us donuts.
yeah, donuts and coffee. And it was just bullshit.
Well, with the health district, if you didn't hear from them, then you need to go up. Go to the top guy, Charlie. Go to Charlie Brown.
But you don't want to
You-
shine a light on the situation if they can take care of it internally.
But obviously they're not, Barbara.
I know, and that's a shame.
Because I'm hearing about it all the time.
And
She'll say the same thing when you're complaining. It's on the list. It's on her list to do.
It's funny because I got a call from her just before I came here today. And she said there's 6 openings at Marjorie Moore.
Yeah, we got 2
And
here.
one opening, she told me only one here because they're cleaning out the place.
Yeah, but there's 2 openings
Oh,
here.
there's only one, so there's 2 there.
They're probably cleaning Daniels. Well, they are also there.
No, Josie's not coming
Josie's
back.
not coming back.
The lady that
They're
was,
emptying out her
the
apartment.
lady that was supposed to go in number 1 died, and she's not coming
She
back.
told me one person died. And they're
Yeah.
cleaning out.
Who was that?
And they're cleaning out Josie.
Oh,
Josie, yeah, Josie's.
she's not coming back?
No,
Where's she at?
but Janowski, but
Okay.
they're trying to get her into.
She wants to go, she doesn't like Bojanowski. I don't know why.
Oh.
It's a nice place. but
She can't walk yet.
Oh,
She says she's trying.
Well, Liz said she has applications for Marjorie Moore. So if you know anyone that wants to apply to Marjorie Moore, she asked me to mention that tonight.
but she should have a wait list.
So there's, not at Marjorie Moore, she has a
She
list.
said
but
they
she
had a
said-
list for 50 places.
But she
Yeah.
said she has a list for, how many did she tell me? 37 people on the wait list for here. But she said she has 6 openings at Marjorie Moore. Now, how much of a wait list she didn't say. tell me that. So Marjorie Moore.
Yeah, because if there's no wait list, then she's required to open it for applications, and there's no open application period for either.
She told me
A lot of us
the
go down and
opening,
buy
she told me to announce it for tonight.
Hello?
That's just the door closed and the mailman came in.
Oh,
You just.
So somebody go.
I didn't close that.
Okay.
The mailman is
that's okay.
Tina's coming here at night.
And
Yeah,
with all
they
these
probably want to use
apartments that are
that.
being built around town,
Yes.
I think that the category of those apartments might be changed periodically. You might go from affordable to luxury or some other type of thing. My concern would be, are there emergency ADA kind of stuff being built into these apartments?
Probably not.
Well, what was, because if you look at the.
Do you have an AED
We
at
do not.
Percival Heights?
We do not, but the new building, didn't Joe tell us that it was on the plans that we had? He said that was gonna be built with the ADA.
Right. And then for private rentals, that's up to the owner of that private rental. I don't think they have to require it.
don't think
I bet you if you went into Sage Pond Place, there's not an AED in there.
I'll bet there's none.
And that one is one building, where like if you go to Stonebridge, they're separate buildings, so you would have an AED maybe in the clubhouse, but I bet you there isn't one there.
I remember seeing one.
And I don't know how they designate like affordable, luxury. I don't know how that
I
works.
don't know how that.
Yeah, so
Okay. And is that it?
Yeah, that's about all I had to say. I wanna go to the meeting tomorrow and see what progresses there.
I will see you there.
It'll be
I'll be there.
interesting to see how many people will show up.
Yeah, I'll be there. All right.
I mean, I'm assuming that once they offer this, that it's in the form that they're accepting, town is, so they're not gonna change it again. So whatever they offer tomorrow night will be the plan that's being submitted to the state. And hopefully will be accepted by the state. I think the committee members did a good job. It was not easy. Everybody has their own axe to grind, in their own interest, and
Right.
you can't blame them. Most of the members were very, very considerate of the senior population, which I appreciate. Well, a lot of them, several of them said, my parents, they're gonna need apartments soon, there just aren't any. I said, yeah, guess what?
right.
And the years go by fast. They'll need them soon too.
Right.
Yeah, well, George said, he says, I don't see me and my wife moving into anything really soon. He said, we can't afford half of what's being built, he goes.
What's his wife's name?
I don't know what his wife's name is. I'm really getting familiar with his name.
Yeah.
I'm not to figure out who he was. He's a very nice person.
Yes, he is. Okay, senior center, community center. Our little advisory group has done 8 visits around areas. And the meeting tomorrow night is to go to the council meeting. And it's my understanding that that's where they're going to move the report forward to the public, to do public hearings. So I hope that this is it, because until, I was told by the mayor, until they move the report into the public forum, we cannot speak out as members of the commission. So I would assume, as members of the advisory council, so I would assume that if they move that forward tomorrow night, we'll be able to do more speaking out on how we feel about the project. So that's that. The Knights of Columbus, I talked to Joe Bajorski today. He said the money is, he's waiting for the paperwork and guidance from consultant Jim Mahoney for demolition for the Knights of Columbus regarding brownfields. They're still doing brownfields. I think this is their third test. But the money is in place for the construction. $34 million is in place for the construction of the housing. So, and he will be at the council meeting tomorrow night to report on that. So I talked to him today and I said I would see him there. So that's good to, I mean, even though he's talking the fall now, by the time they get all this money in place, and Jim Mahoney's waiting for the Knights of Columbus, or Jim Mahoney for the whatever paperwork Jim has to submit. And I mean, it's just been so long, and I said to Joe today, this is so discouraging because this is like a third brownfields test they had to do. I mean, it just keeps going and going, and I said, you know, we've got to at least get the Knights of Columbus building down so that you can start when you're ready to start. You know, if the building money is in place, it seems a shame that they can't get going sooner, but he'll make his report tomorrow night and we'll see what he has to say. Under old business. I want to make sure I get to the Knights of Columbus. I did that. I want to make sure that I have a lot of notes here. Under old business, last month, or 2 months ago, we had our meeting. Peter Zarabozo came in to tell us about the senior center would not be a voting place anymore. So the senior center has been passing out the notice of change, which I think is wonderful. However, not everyone comes to the senior center for programs. So my concern is when they come here to vote, are they going to know that? They should be putting it in the paper, putting it, and I mentioned that at the meeting. So they said, oh, people don't, now this is another thing. When they had the budget meeting, the day of the budget meeting, I went to vote for the budget meeting. I got there and I parked in the handicap where I usually
You mean
park.
the referendum, not the budget meeting,
The
referendum,
Referendum.
The
yeah.
referendum for the budget.
right.
For the budget. So I parked in the handicap where I always park because I voted at Grizzly School. And I started to walk down to the door. The door was locked. The second door was locked. So the teacher came out and said, you have to go way down the end where the third door, door number 3, is where they put the voting. So now I'm already halfway across the building. So I said, well, I'll go back and get my car and move it and I'll drive to the voting area. I got to the voting area. There's no handicap at the voting area. However, I could have parked in a regular parking space, but there was no parking spaces available because school was in session. So I went home. And my concern is if they come here to vote, seniors are a big voting block.
Well, I was gonna, as part of new business, I was gonna let you know about something
Okay. But
regarding that.
so I was concerned, so I did call the registrar of voters. She said they're gonna look into it. And that's my concern, that the seniors do not get left out of voting and, because, I mean, some of us have mobility issues. We have canes, we have walkers, even if you don't. I turned around and went home. And I called the registrar and I said, I did not vote today. She says, well, you can go. She said, well, school's in session. It would normally not be in session on a regular voting day. But she said, you can go back at 4 o'clock. I said, that is not going to happen because school is out at 4 o'clock. We'd have more availability.
Buses and the traffic and everything.
Yeah, I said, I'm not going back at 4 o'clock. I do my errands and then I'm home, So Joan Bealey was the voting person that I talked to the registrar. And she said that she told me they reached out twice to the Berlin citizen. Nobody knew about this voting thing. So she said they reached out twice to the Berlin citizen and they never put it in the paper. I
That's
said,
the
you
other
know,
thing.
yeah, they didn't put it in the Herald, they didn't put it in the Citizen. So when I went to the council meeting, Mayor Mark says, well, there was only 600 people who voted. I said, yes, but people can't do what they don't know about, you know? And if it wasn't in the paper, so she told me they reached out twice to the Citizen and they never got a response from them. Well, then I'm sorry, but you have to be more forceful because that's important for the people in town to know about the voting, you know, and know where to vote. So those are very important issues. So, so that is that. I told her, I hope that will be addressed, and she said she would address that. Because my concern was the November election, you know, I said, it's gotta
It's
be.
even gonna be worse.
Absolutely. And now you reduced a couple of voting places, so the lines are gonna be longer.
Yeah.
And people wanna go in the morning, they're not gonna go at 4 o'clock when everybody's coming out of work, you know? So I think that, you know, hopefully they'll find a way to resolve that.
Even in the morning, they're crowded.
True.
I found that out going early in the morning.
Well, also, I read the Citizen. I usually read it cover to cover. I try to look at all the news. Their coverage of Berlin has been crappy.
Yes, that's
I'm
very
sorry.
true.
The paper's getting smaller. All you've got is inserts and flyers. And the Berlin news is very, very sketchy. You don't see them talk about town meetings. You don't see them talk about referendums. They're not talking about anything that's going on. Have we lost a Berlin reporter? Is that the reason?
No, there's a Berlin reporter. It's just what the Record Journal decides. The Record Journal owns it.
Well, that's what I
If you
said.
notice, at times, you'll have other towns' news in there
Yeah.
that don't pertain to Berlin. It's what the Record Journal decides. You have to be persistent, or you got to get to know one of the reporters where you have an in, and then you just contact them. But then even then, sometimes they have to say, well, I got to run it by my editor. And then it's up to the editor what they put in.
The Herald is splitting from Bristol.
You know,
So we'll get more Berlin and New Britain news? Or maybe none at all?
I don't know.
Herald
It was in
is
the paper
small.
the other day.
The Herald almost never had anything either.
well, they used to have, it used to be nice with the Herald when they would have like the Berlin page. They had a page for Plainville, or they had a page for whatever. And then you just use that page. But unless the costs are high and they're trying to shrink them, they figure people don't read it, but seniors read it. People,
That's what the mayor said. He said, you know, people don't read the paper, they read everything on their phones. You
Right.
know? But I said to Joan Neely, you have to, if you ask them to put something in about voting and they don't do it, then you have to hold their feet to the fire.
Right.
Because they take a lot of advertising dollars out of Berlin.
right,
So if
Right.
they're not informing the Berlin residents,
right,
then they should not be doing advertising with them.
right.
So, you know, there's got
You have to be
a way.
persistent,
Absolutely, and you have
Yeah.
to, you know, you have to. bring that up to
unfortunately.
them. Yes. Okay, that's a Columbus, new business. I received the guide for the ADA small. Did you want to address the voting place, Tina? before we
Yeah.
Go on to this? Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so I found out from the registered voter, Chrissy Maiano, that on June 9th, they're having a meeting or a presentation about the voting redistricting at the library. Okay, I don't know what time it is. I think it's 6 o'clock. I did say to her, I said, I would like that same program here at the senior center. I said,
Absolutely.
because the group that you're trying to reach is the seniors. Why would you have it at the, I mean, I understand you're gonna have it at the library for other folks, but I said the majority of the people that you need to reach are the seniors. You need to have it at a facility that they're familiar with, easy access, and during the day when they can come. I said 6 o'clock at night. You're not gonna get the people because depending on how long it lasts, it's gonna be dark, they're not gonna wanna come.
And the parking is not good.
Right, exactly. So Joan was out sick today, so she was gonna talk to Joan, and we are gonna schedule it for here as well. Okay?
Because that also involves the Legion, right? It's the senior center and the Legion
Right.
that are not.
But my concern, yeah, but what I'm addressing is that they need to get the word out to people so they know where to vote.
Yes.
And hopefully, going forward on any type of voting day, since they're using 3 schools, that those schools are gonna be closed. They have to be.
And that there'll be parking in the parking
Right,
lot.
exactly. So, yeah, so that is, something I wanted to bring up because I did talk to her about it today.
And you know, you figure if they're eliminating the senior center and the Legion has a lot of older people that vote there also.
Well, yeah, they moved it to the VFW because that's where I vote.
So now it's the VFW?
Well, yeah, they used to do the Legion, but they had moved it to the VFW for the last number,
So
a
it's
bunch
the
of,
VFW is closing also?
yeah. So you're only having 3 schools, Hubbard, Willard, and Griswold.
All right. So
Okay.
VFW probably
Right.
will also have a certain amount of older people, or
Mhm.
seniors, or
Mhm.
people. You know.
All the 3 schools.
And they should also put that on social media, because that's where the young people.
Yeah, I would think they would, but I'm saying for seniors who aren't on social media,
That's right.
not on Facebook, not on the town website, that they need to have in person, and they need to do it in a facility that they're comfortable in and do it during a time when it's best for them.
And you know what cranks me up when you call them at the town hall, and I won't say who's there.
Right,
They'll say to you, oh, well, you can go on the website, everything is there. Well, I want to tell you that not everybody goes on the website. And not everybody has access to that, or they need to look at that. You know, so.
but why couldn't they just tell you while you're on the phone with them? The info. Why do they send you to the website?
Website. Well, she said general, whatever I was asking for at that
Just
time.
answer your question.
Don't you think they should have maps posted around town showing the,
Well, I would, hopefully they would have some type of marketing campaign,
yeah.
because the next vote
people
is,
go to the wrong place and then they gotta go.
well, the next vote is a primary supposedly scheduled for August.
And you know, they won't do 2 or 3 places, they'll go home. They're gonna go to their voting place, they're not gonna find
Especially if you
people.
go there after work and you're tired. you
Yes.
say, "Oh, the hell with
Yes.
this," you know.
Well, and also people, you know, some people, yeah, if you grew up in town, you know the 3 schools. But if you're fairly new to the town, there's a lot of people that don't know. Oh, I didn't know that, like, people don't know, like, the walking club example. Oh, I never knew about Timberland Park. Like, you'd be amazing. Some of these people have lived in town for years. Oh, I didn't know that this was here. So you gotta think about it that way too.
I think that's so true, you have to get the word out.
Yeah, and I know the town is working on a system to get information out better to residents. Not just emergency info, but all info out to residents, because I think that is number one. I think it's a complaint that they hear a lot of. I didn't know about it. I never heard
With the
about it.
loss with the loss of a lot of the printing,
Right,
Yes.
and you don't have papers anymore. Like,
Right.
You have 3 papers,
right.
you know.
So the town is working on that.
The sad part is it's only the younger people that are getting the information on things, because the older people, we aren't using all that.
Right, but the town is working on a system that's not only texting or
senior
email,
center,
it's
yeah.
phone too.
Yeah.
so
He said
that, yeah,
They have it in his town, Arush. She said they have
Yes.
that in his town. So that's why he's working on that for Berlin.
Right.
To get that
They are.
information to the town.
it would be like a town robocall, like I do.
Yeah.
for
I
the
said that to
center.
him. I said, why
Yeah.
can't you do what Tina does?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Right, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But, they have to get people's permission because you have to follow what is it, FCC rules, right? You have to get them to sign into it, opt into it. If you don't opt into it, you can only do emergency calls to people without their permission, right. There's certain guidelines, yeah.
Yeah, they should have an update every once a week.
They have to get people to opt in to sign up for it.
Yeah, that's fine. I bet
Yeah.
a lot of people would.
Oh, they would, yeah,
Yeah, because they want to know.
right,
We have no newspapers, you know?
yeah.
Okay,
The old fashioned fire. It worked. The stuff they did in the past worked.
Or ride around with a bullhorn
Yeah.
through
right.
neighborhoods.
You do the message that runs at the bottom of the newscast.
Yeah.
You're watching that in front of house, all
Right.
kinds of weird things. I mean, you know, to capture attention. True. Referendum vote tonight, show up.
under new business, I received the ADA guide for small businesses. And as I read through this, a lot of small businesses are not in compliance for people that are handicapped with either walkers or wheelchairs. And I had that situation. The reason I even got into this is I was going to my foot care doctor at Heritage Village, Dr. Kaufman, and there was only 2 handicap spots, so I had to park farther down. So I parked up as close as I could so I could hold onto my car to step up. And I'm walking down, and there was a man with his mother with a walker. So I said to him, this is not an easy, because they have a little ramp by the handicap, but there's no railing, and the ramp is kind of steep. So I said, this is not an easy place for you to bring her. And he said, no, I'm bringing her myself because when she came last month, her helper was getting her down this ramp with no railing, and she fell.
The helper.
No, the mother.
Oh, the mother.
The mother fell.
Oh, the-
And the helper wasn't, able to, there was nothing to hold on to. So the woman had a walker, the woman was holding on to her, trying to help her, and there was no handrail, and the mother fell. So that's how I got into this, and I said, I know the town has a person, and I know it's Jen, to look into these things, but the small businesses don't have that. And one of the places, in addition to Heritage Village, one of them is the Stick Village, which is a fairly new place.
Or Stick Village.
It's a Woodlands development.
Webster Square.
Oh, got you, yeah.
He's building a new building.
Yeah, okay,
Now, that's a fairly new area. That should be handicapped and it should have the proper stuff. And I got a call from someone that told me, was a very similar situation as what I had, that the handicap, she had to go into a regular parking space and there was no ramp or anything to hold on to. So, and so small businesses, I think, have to comply.
we should.
And I
So-
know,
can I ask Juliet, so when, like, a developer makes a plan to build, like a strip mall or whatever you want, right, does the plan have to be approved by the,
Planning and zoning,
right,
and they should
and do
follow
they
that.
look at that?
I would say yes, they need to. Certainly they should.
That's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
that I'm sure that they have requirements
As long
that
as
they
they
have to-
look back when it's done and make sure that they
did
what
it
they
right,
supposed
and
to
they
do,
did it the right way.
you know, yeah.
see, that's what, I don't understand how these private buildings. And when I asked Dr. Kaufman's, I said to him, who owns this plaza? Because I want to write to them. He didn't know who owned the plaza. He just knows where he sends his checks.
Heritage used to be owned by Vandrilla.
But not anymore. Van Hill doesn't own it. So,
Well, you could get that through the, right, the assessors. Who owns the building?
Yeah,
They have to know who they're paying rent to.
now, were those, is that the one across from the
Ave, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think those are all condominiumized.
Oh, are they?
Are all condos, each one is private,
Yeah,
that's what he said, he sends his check.
and he doesn't own his.
He didn't say he owned it, but he did say, don't make any trouble, because he says, I don't wanna get in trouble here. I said, well, I don't want, I'm not.
But
doing
somebody
this.
has-
You're trouble.
Does, so you're saying that those
Out
businesses are each individually owned? And who owns, so they own like a strip of the property in front or back?
I don't know exactly how that works.
Yes, somebody's gotta own
Yeah,
there. See, that's.
the
whole
land
thing.
part.
because I don't think, but I don't know if they just own the part that they're sitting on, or like you say, if they own the sidewalk part. and the
Or
part
are they an association? Like when you live in a condo association,
that could be-
right? You have to have a board. But there's always,
The assessor could tell you. but-
yeah,
Oh,
because them as a group are then liable.
yeah, but you know, you shouldn't have to go through all this to find out a little bit of
No.
information, you know? And somebody should be checking on these people, because if they're private businesses and they're paying taxes to the town, somebody's gotta see that they're not in compliance.
Nobody cares until it affects them.
Yeah,
And you know, that's exactly what happened in town hall. When I parked at the handicap to go to the council meeting, the railing was missing a section. So I did call, and then Jen had somebody call me, and he said, you know, if you don't need that railing, you don't notice it, because you're not walking along. But I did notice the last time I went to the meeting, it was fixed. So apparently, if you bring it to their attention, they do it. But that's a town building. I'm talking about private.
Right, but I would think as a town that you would annually inspect your buildings and your property
Yep.
to
make sure there's no risks, because that risk turns into a liability.
Well, another
except they
is,
don't have to do that.
Right, because a liability means a lawsuit,
absolutely.
and that
another
means
risk-
funds of the town going out.
Right.
That should be staying with the town.
And the risk is the library itself, because if you're coming out and
Yeah.
that's got that little grade there, and there's no railings there, and there's those little bumpy things, so that you got a wheelchair thing, I guess that's the
Yeah.
reason for that. But, if you're coming down, and ladies from the library have told me at night, it gets
It's-
slippery.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who takes care of that? You
Kim's
know?
working on it.
Huh?
Kim is working on it. She and I talked about
Oh, really?
it last week.
Good. Okay, so that's one place.
I do know if something, this is bad, but I know that if something happens to somebody on town property, like I had a woman fall in the front door when she was coming to vote, then the risk manager came out, looked at it, figured that something needed to be re-cemented, that there was like too much of a lip or something like that. Then they corrected the problem.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until somebody
But that's
fell
the
and
fact.
hit their head and you had to call the ambulance or
Exactly.
whatever. Right,
Exactly.
right.
After that,
After I fell at the town hall and going down the parking lot, like, the ice,
Yeah,
and I fell and broke 2 bones in my back, then they repaved the parking lot and they regraded it.
where was that?
So that was quite
At
a
the
few
town
years
hall?
ago. Yeah.
see, what I do, I know here when, even though this property, it belongs to the housing. Like I will drive like the upper parking lot and check it out every so often to see if there's any issues, because then I put in a work order to have it fixed or looked at. And same thing with like the parking spaces up front, like when they plow, or if they don't put enough salt, I always check it out, because I don't want nobody falling and getting hurt, or if they hit the what do you call it, the curbs, and then you got these big chunks of, or when if you notice, they redid the sidewalk again,
Yeah.
because, that stuff wears away,
Yeah.
right, it crumbles, and then it's easy for somebody's foot to get.
Yeah.
but you gotta stay on it.
And that's the whole thing. We used to have this lady, what was her name? Wasaki.
Yeah, Carolyn.
Wasaki. And she used to keep track of all this stuff. And she kept
Yeah.
people on their toes. And
Yeah.
then she passed away.
Yeah,
So from then, and one time I did try to get a hold of the commission handicap, and I never got a call back, but somebody should be doing this for the town,
Mhm.
you
You
know?
gotta bring that up to a Roche.
Well,
Are
You
insurance
know?
companies involved in that too? As far as risk assessment?
Yeah,
They
the,
would not issue a policy unless all that stuff was compliant.
right. It should be. The town's insurance company,
A lot of them now do a flyover.
you know.
And you know.
I would think that they would require the town to a certain
I mean, they
degree.
wouldn't write a policy unless all that
Right,
stuff was
right,
there.
right. Because when something does happen, we have to notify Kerma of it.
But private people, commercial people.
Yeah, no.
Some, even private though, would
Depends on the insurance.
Yeah, right.
they would, call for a policy.
Yeah, it depends if they have insurance.
They would need to inspect the property.
Right.
See if it was in compliance before they issued the
Exactly,
policy.
that's it. The insurance company would do that if they're aware.
Right.
I mean,
But it requires work.
do they want a claim, say,
Right.
somebody breaks their hip or whatever and all that, and all of a sudden, hospital stuff,
Yeah,
person is,
Right.
ends up in a, or like, maybe, you get a blood clot out of it or something, and you lose your mental capability. It could be a couple $1 million.
It's gotta be,
Over
somebody
a
has
stupid
gotta be.
Railing.
Yep, somebody's gotta be going around checking on these places, and it shouldn't just be me, because I think that, I get calls from other people, but, and you don't wanna be cast as a complainer, and I don't mind if I am, because when I called about the town hall railing, and he called me back, and I said, I told me to discuss the railing, and I said, oh, I do have something else, and he said, I'm sure you do. But
but I don't see you as a complainer, Barbara.
no,
I see you as an advocate.
advocate.
Right.
Yes.
A complainer is complaining about little minute
No,
things.
I am
You
an
are not,
advocate.
you are an advocate.
And I
Never
said
see
that
yourself
at
as
the-
a
And I said
complainer.
that at the council meeting the other night. I said, I am an advocate for the seniors.
Right,
So the mayor said, well, we're all seniors here. I said, yes, I know that.
right,
And that's what my job is here.
Right.
As an advocate.
yeah,
for
you're
the
not a
seniors.
complainer.
No,
I mean, you're not complaining about the color of the building, you're
Right.
complaining about something that.
something could be harmful,
could be
Right.
catastrophic.
like that lady that I saw with her son.
Right,
And
yeah,
she fell,
yeah.
No,
No,
I mean, that's not a good.
you
thing.
do good work, Barbara.
So I can't replace Carol Wysocki, but I'm trying.
Good girl.
I have one other thing, new business. This New Britain Seniors Center, I don't know if anybody saw this article. They are 55 and older now, and they're trying to get in younger seniors. Did you see this article?
No, I don't get the Herald.
I'll bring this in when I come.
Yeah, and I'll make a copy.
And they're trying to get in younger people. So I was thinking about this. When we're talking about the why. Now, people sign in here,
Right,
if the other towns are gonna start doing seniors 55 and
there are some already
some are.
that do
So
55.
if that happens, and we're gonna have to do that, but the Y doesn't have a lot of programs for the seniors.
Right,
So that would be my concern, because if we have this and we don't have programs for the seniors, then how is that gonna work?
well, New Britain is probably trying to boost their membership
I'm sure they
by
are.
doing 55 and older. And getting the younger, because AARP, it's actually, I think 50 you can get a membership, but then 55 is usually like 55 and older housing. So there are some centers that do have membership at 55 and older.
Yeah.
Majority though have 60 and older.
Yeah, but my concern
Yeah, it's the Y.
is the Y is.
The
not
Y
gonna
doesn't have any programs
the
for seniors.
And if we're gonna have to go to 55, and the Y is gonna come in and, say to the town, oh, we're gonna give you God knows what, but they're not gonna address the needs of the seniors.
No.
Then how will this work if the seniors are getting younger? And at one of our meetings, he said, oh, he says, we're gonna do all of this for 500 seniors. I told you that. But
Mhm.
I said, that's not the point. Maybe 500 seniors come here, but there's a lot of seniors in town. So there's a lot of potential for extra seniors to come here. So now if New Britain is doing 55, and eventually maybe we'll do that, how will we do that? If we're not getting the programs?
How do we
Well,
do,
it really
it depends on, are you talking about how would we do that in this building?
No.
Or how would we do that if we get our
can't
new
do
building?
that in this
No,
building.
right, because we don't
No.
have the space.
We don't have the
Right.
space, no.
It
So
would be
we-
doable if we got our new
new
facility.
building.
Yes, it
But
would definitely
not
be doable.
With the what?
No, because
You have to have the program.
we're not gonna be, from what you've told me about the meetings, we're not gonna be a part of that, Barbara.
No, we're not.
We're gonna stay separate.
So that's my
Unfortunately.
concern. I wanted to bring this
W-
up
We are gonna,
tonight.
right. If the town decides to go with the community center being part of the Y,
Yeah.
we're not, from what you've been
Yeah.
saying in their comments, we're not gonna be a part of it.
No,
We're
that's
gonna stay
public.
separate.
I mean, Mr. Bedicki told us right out,
Right.
he does not address the senior program.
Right, right.
So I wanted to bring that up tonight because I think this is important for us to know.
Well, we're always trying to build our membership here,
Yes.
and by building it up, that speaks volumes to support our proposed
That's
senior
right.
center, community center,
That's right.
okay?
Well, that's why I
Because
wanted to bring this.
people want more programming,
Yeah,
but we don't have the capability here.
no, and that's why I wanted to bring this up.
We do
because
not,
If we have other seniors sign up, we don't have
no,
the areas.
we don't have the
around.
space.
No,
You know, I have Liz doing unwind and relaxation in the library because she can't stay in here because by the time she's done, it's time for setting up for lunch. And then the coffee guys are upset on Fridays because they got to get out of here by 9:30 because the yoga people are here. You know, and we have more programs,
yes.
and we just don't have the
Don't have
space.
Space, and that's why I'm bringing this
And we'd
up.
like to do more, but we can't.
No, you can't. So that, I think that
You know?
that has to be addressed, and we need to have all of us know this. So, okay, I guess that's it for me, for new business, old business. Did anybody have anything else under new or old business? No? Okay,
I'll
well
make a
then, motion to
we adjourn the
adjourn.
meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, productive meeting, thank you. I like to have you all know as much as I know, because I think it's important, because if people address you,